Okay, so as you know, we have a clear proprietary coaching process that Chris developed after over years of working with our clients. It has the 4 sessions: get acquainted, get organized, get prioritized, and get stabilized. I hope you also realize after the March training that the guidebook actually dovetails exactly with the topics that you see here in the order that you see them. So what we want to do as we're helping kind of navigate best practices for Wings for Widows coaching, we're going to spend each coach's corner, we're going to do a deep dive into what happens or what some best practices are in each of these sessions. So tonight, and we get a lot of questions about session 1, and I feel good that we're going to being able to give you more tools than we've given you before. We're going to give you a script. I sent it out. You don't need to follow it word for word, obviously. It's just, illustrative, illustrative. But we're going to go into quite a bit of detail about how to use the guidebook to take your client through the Get Acquainted session. Next slide. Of course, the first thing that happens, one of the first things, if you've had a client, which most of you have had, you'll see this email come through. You'll see, hey, hello, this is from Dana. My client's name, thanks for signing the documents. I'd like to introduce you to name a coach. They're going to be your coach. They'll reach out to you within the next week or so to schedule your first coaching session. In the meantime, I've mailed you the New Widow's Guide to Financial Wellness. Please allow up to 1 week for the guidebook to arrive. So kind of letting them know, hey, this is you. You know that you are now in touch with each other's email, and that we want the guidebook to be in the client's hands before that first session takes place. So that's one of the first steps. Next slide. I have here for you a couple emails that coaches have shared with me as to what they do next. And I put this in the cheat sheet that I emailed you today. And some coaches just literally, with all their clients, they find one they like, they cut and paste it, they fill in the right client name, and then bang, it's an email template they can use with every client. You can kind of see this here. This coach said, I'm really sorry. Words can't make it better. I'm here to hopefully help. We're going to set up an initial meeting. You don't need to prepare anything. However, if you have any, pressing concerns, feel free to email me. And this particular coach actually uses her calendar link so that the client can actually go in and grab a spot. You don't need to do that. I just thought it was a creative way to use technology to kind of get the client on the calendar. Please do not ask the client to complete X page of the guidebook or this worksheet or this budget before session 1. We have found that the guidebook itself without coach guidance can be intimidating. If they were able to do it without you, they probably would have done something before now. So please do not send them, instructions to complete work prior to session 1. Next slide. Here's another email, again, written by a coach. I just thought it was beautiful. Basically, I'm so sorry. This coach included the name of the husband in there. I'm really here, just would like to start to get to know you. I want you to feel comfortable with me. However, it works best if we wait till you get the guidebook. So once you get the guidebook, let me know, and off we go. So they're basically saying, balls in your court, client. When you get the guidebook and you're ready to meet, here I am, and I'm ready to work with you. And again, do not ask them, please, to do anything in the guidebook prior to your first session. Any questions on these emails before Chris kind of digs in to the actual coaching? Okay, Chris?
Okay, well, thanks everyone for being here tonight. More than 41, 42 of you signed on. It's great to see the names over and over and get to talk with you, kind of month to month, or as I get to interact with you the little bit that I get to. It's always so enjoyable. And one of the things I've noticed as Andrea was talking, it's the coaches' names here that I see that are attending tonight. Kind of we see over and over in the client surveys with just, the kudos, right? The gushing kudos. And what it tells me is there's a real connection with being here and success. and doing it right. And so thanks for taking the time out. I know you've got a lot to do, but this is so important to the folks that you're helping here. And I don't want to. I don't know if we're going to get to this, but I heard from one of our coaches recently um, live that he said that the last client he worked with was the most rewarding client he had ever worked with in his life as a financial advisor. He had never felt such joy and a sense of reward for helping this person as he did with Wings for Widows. I mean, that's pretty powerful stuff, right? So you're here. Thanks for being here. I, Many of you have been a CFP way longer than I've been. It's not so much about who knows what. It's this script that we're going to talk about next. It's about technique. I know when I first joined Ameriprise, 15 years ago, they were really big on scripts. I was really against that until I started using them. And then I realized, well, they kind of like, I didn't have to think. And what I realized was, well, I'd been in practice for 4 years and Ameriprise had been in practice way longer. And maybe they had something that I could use. And the more I used them, they almost became, it really did just become the way of doing business using the scripts. Now, I'm not here to teach old dogs new tricks, right? But these are things that we've learned over the last 6 years that work. And if you're a coach who've been coaching with us for a while, you may already have this, your own gig and not trying to disrupt that. But if you're a new coach and you're on tonight, or you've only had a couple of clients, I think there's a lot you can learn from this. Not because I wrote it, but because what I've tried to do is collect all those experiences over the last 6 years into this Get Acquainted script. And I will tell you this, it's right at the top of the slide, right? This is about knowing your client, right? About creating value and building trust in 90 minutes, right? Because I believe we've seen it. If you deliver in session one, you're going to have a great engagement. So if you have the Get Acquainted script printed or on your screen, one of your screens next to you, I'm going to loosely talk to that, but I'm probably going to talk to the slide a little bit more, maybe move back and forth between the two. But my point is for everyone, no matter how long you've been with us, how long you've been a CFP, I think there's some things in here that you're going to glean that can help you do a better job with your coaches, with your clients, and have a great engagement. So here we're introducing this script. First part is just prepping for the meeting. I know because I was there. I prep for every client that came through the door, and you should prep for your Wings for Widows clients, right? Reviewing the script, particularly if you haven't had a client in a while, right? Look at the guidebook, right? Flip through the table of contents. Just kind of reacquaint yourself with where stuff is. If I ask for a show of hands of how many have been back to the appendix to look at all those forms, I would guess that a few of you have, but I bet you don't get back there much. And those are forms that could be really helpful to the client that aren't in the main portion of the book. And so it's just nice to know that they're back there. And of course, that glossary, you're talking about stuff the poor client has no clue, right? You know that. Even our sophisticated clients really stumble over our jargon. And so all of that's in the back of the book, right? And frankly, great pains were taken to get that glossary as full as it is. So make sure you're pointing that out to the client. So and make sure you know it's back there. So reading all the notes, the financial wellness check and the notes, of course, is I think you're all doing that. If you don't, you're starting out kind of in the red zone, right? You got a long way to go to kind of get caught up. You're not going to get through session one if you're not absolutely familiar with everything that we provide for you, and we provide it for you so that you can get done in 90 minutes. It is possible. You'll notice in the script that I allotted X number of minutes for each of these areas, and you get done in 90 minutes. I will tell you that session one is more complicated than it's ever been, and you really have to be a time manager with that. Or no harm, no foul. If you get halfway through it, then you're not really going on to session two, right? You're going to continue, right? Your session two will really be a continuance of session one. You've got to get through session one. You've got to do it right. Because if you do, it sets the stage for all the other sessions. So be prepared. we already mentioned the personal email greeting, right, and scheduling the meeting. So now you're ready to meet. Obviously, introductions, right? You've got to acknowledge the loss. You'll hear this over and over, using the spouse's name, as you saw in the emails. Explain who you are, maybe why and how long you've been a coach with Wings for Widows, kind of your track record, how much you enjoy working with widowed people. And then again, you've already prepared. You should already have a pretty good idea, um, where this person is in terms of um, their financial wellness check, right? When you review that financial wellness check, you should be circling those areas that are really poor, right? The deficit areas where it's answered, no, I didn't do this, or it's a 1 out of 10. You know that they're struggling in that area. I circled them, right? Because I was going to make sure I got to those in session one. And you should also know that the average score in a wellness check is about 58. So if your client is 47, you know that they're really struggling. If they're at 90, you know they're above average, and you might be able to not dig as deep in all of the areas. So it's important to know, and use those notes, right, to prepare for this. So you already got a sense of idea of who you're working with. And I like during the introduction is just dig a little deeper, ask some more questions, get them to talk about themselves, get them comfortable about talking about their situation. I'm sorry, ran right over that. I forget I'm driving. And then, so that's the first thing, right? And then you're going to explain the financial coaching process by opening the guidebook. How many of you do that? You don't have to raise your hands. You don't have to show them a fancy PowerPoint slide or draw it out on a napkin or have or a whiteboard, whatever you use. Just have them open the book. It may be the first time they've actually opened the book, and go to the table of contents. It's laid out just like we saw on that earlier slide, right? You got to get the client in the guidebook. The more they're in the guidebook, the more comfortable they'll be. And if you look down on the objective 2, explaining the process, there is a script there. I really like this script. And you can do your own, and that's fine. But I like the elements of this script. I'm not going to read the script for you, but under objective 2, explaining this process, getting into the book. I like the line about, look, there's also, we'll kind of go through the table of contents, see how this is broken up into the 4 pillars. We're going to talk about these topics. They're not all going to pertain to you. Don't get overwhelmed. We're just going to take it I always say one baby step at a time. And we're only going to talk about those things that really apply to you, but to make sure that we've covered everything, right? No stone unturned. There's a progress check at the end of every topic, and we're going to go through those. And you may say, hey, I've got that covered, and I believe you, but we're still going to ask those questions. And basically our engagement's over once we've addressed all the progress checklists. So you're really setting expectations for them, right? Using the guidebook, make sure that they feel comfortable using it. They can write in it, take notes, fill out forms, whatever they want to do. And then, of course, this idea of working at your own pace, I think is really important. We're not in a rush. Hey, this is set up for 4 sessions. If we go to 5 or 6, don't worry about it. We'll take it one step at a time. And then in objective 3, we kind of flip it. Objective 3 is about kind of setting expectations around, this isn't a one-way, I'm not just going to feed you. I'm not going to do the work for you. This is interactive. There is work for you to do. And it's important that you do the work because you're going to feel empowered. You're going to gain confidence. You're going to revel in the accomplishment of what you've done, what you've completed when we're done. And so you're saying, yeah, we'll take it slow. We'll go at your pace. But by the way, there's some work to do here. Okay.
Chris, advance the slide. You're on objective 3.
Thanks. And that's because I'm looking at the script. Sorry about that. So if you look at the script, you can see there's a couple of script items there. Basically, we know that if they stick with it, they dig in, they do their homework, it can be transformative. We've seen that in the client surveys and the outcome reports over and over and over again. What we do is life changing, and you should feel very proud of that. That's the goal, right? Be transformative when you work with the clients. Objective 4, develop trust, right? So we've set the expectations. Now we're going to develop trust. And how do we do that? The best way to do that is digging right into the hot topics, which is why if you coach with us a couple of years, that used to be item number 5, which meant we went through all this stuff and then we didn't have time to get to the hot topic. Well, now it's topic 1 on purpose, because we can create immediate trust by creating value by solving one of their hot topics. And what I did is, when I would see some of the hot topics, you don't always get, here's my 3 hot topics in priority, but I was familiar with them. And what I would try to do is prepare for the one I was going to try to solve. And so when we dug into hot topics, I said, well, tell me more about this one. The other ones we're going to get to later on, but tell me about this one. Tell me more about, why is this a concern for you? And then I try to solve that one. And what does that mean? What does that mean? You have just delivered value. You've just made your client feel some sense of relief. And in that instance, you have created trust that you can't create any other way. So really important. Objective 4 is the hot topics. What else do I say about that? You may not be able to. You may need more information to resolve a hot topic, and that's fine. You're going to, that's objective 5, know your client. You may have to come back to hot topics. Okay, thanks very much. Let me ask you a few questions. I just want to learn a little bit more about this, or about, whatever the topic is, for that client. So know your client. It's not unlike Fin or Rule. It's, of course, we're not, it's not as stringent as that, but it's the same idea, right? Know your client. We need to know about the family. It's topic 2, and then topic 3. You may not get the entire financial snapshot done, but you can keep going back to it as you get more information, going back to that and filling in the blanks. And by the way, all of these worksheets in the workbook, because you only get one workbook, you don't get one for each client, right? So all of these worksheets are available on the internet site. Just download them. They're right there in front of you. You can do this. It's your scratch pad. You don't have to create anything new. It's all there. And I know we'll get to that. But so as you're working with this client, you're going to try to get some of that information. I always try to get, the most important to me was around benefits, insurance, around obviously if there's employment and benefits there, and cash flow. Are we going to be okay, for the next few weeks while we're talking, or are the collectors already at the door? So I try to get some feeling around those topics. Some of the other ones can wait, but know your client. And then this is new, right? This is where this gets tough. Objective 6, understanding the spouse's estate. And objective 7 is understanding, Okay, understand the spouse's, I see. Topic 4, about my spouse, and topic 5, my spouse's estate. So you got 2 topics to cover under this objective. And I don't know how many folks do this. We were really bad at doing this for a lot of years. Okay, we just were. But we have learned that if you don't do this, clients get themselves into legal trouble very, very quickly. They sell a spouse's car. They use money that they shouldn't to pay off spouse's bills. They don't understand the difference. They need you to explain what the spouse's estate consists of. And so you're kind of going between the spouse's estate worksheet and the financial snapshot, saying, now, again, is that a joint asset, or was that your late spouse's asset? So really trying to understand who's who in the zoo, right, around the assets and the liabilities. So that's a lot to get done, no doubt about it. There are some, let's see, sorry, running over the script.
While you're doing that, Chris, we got a question. We are now asking the client about what would be a hot topic, right? Well, a couple things on that. When the financial care planner, or it was going to be renamed the financial care person, the title will be changing. When they do the introductory call with the client, they basically say, because I've done hundreds of them, we're going to be I'm going to ask you some questions about your income, your housing, and things like that. And I'm going to ask you to help me to identify what your hot topics are. so that I'm sort of like the nurse who comes in before the doctor. So I take your vitals. I ask you what brought you in today. Where's the pain? How long has it been there? So that when you are paired with a coach, he or she has at least a high level view of what we call hot topics are. And then whenever they tell me, okay, I just don't know if I'm outspending my money, I'll say, would it be fair to say that one of your hot topics, maybe your first one is, is your cash flow okay for what your expenses are? Do you think that maybe having a coach take a look at that and help you establish a budget so you can feel confident that you're not outspending your income? Yes, absolutely. That is one. Okay, that's hot topic number one. Now, we're not going to catch them all because this is a 20-minute conversation, but at least we will have identified the low-hanging fruit for you guys to come in and at least grab onto that. And of course, that's just the start of the conversation, and you're going to possibly identify a lot more hot topics, but at least you have something that they have clearly identified to us in that initial conversation.
And where is that documented again, Andrea?
That is in their client folder.
Except for Maureen. Maureen isn't asking that question, right?
Yeah, right now we're doing a little test but she still is providing, Daphne, Dana, she's still providing them with a summary of what they talked about so that the coach, you're right. Maureen Revac, if you have any clients that she does the intro calls with, we're doing a test where she does not ask them financial questions. And we're going to ask you if you missed that information, because if we didn't provide that information, we could increase the number of introductory calls that we do on the front end. So we'll be asking Maureen's, those of you who have worked with Maureen's clients in the last 2 months, if you missed getting those hot topics. That's a good point, Dana. Thanks for pointing that out.
It's good stuff. Thanks, Andrea. So we are to the wrap up, and that's really the progress check, right? The checklist. And here's why it's so important. Think about it for you, it's important because if you check them all, right, which is why you're asked in the outcome report, did you use the checklist? And we asked your client too. The reason it's so important is because you've got to lead this party, right? You're leading engagement. If you rely on your client to say, well, do you have any banking questions? They don't know if they have any banking questions because they've never been widowed before. So you need to get to that checklist and walk through those questions. And that will probably raise a lot of eyebrows. And so that's the whole point. For you, you leave no stone uncovered. For the client, see it from their side. When they get to a checklist and they get to see, right, ask them to do the checking in their own guidebook. When they get the check, yeah, we did that. Yeah, we did that. Oh, great. Oh, here's one. Yeah, I got to go back and get some more information. Right. I didn't know that. And yeah, that's on my list to go back and get. Oh, I did that one. Do you understand how empowering that is to see that accomplishment in 90 minutes of getting some things done that 90 minutes before they had no clue about? It's empowering. It's so powerful. That's why you've got to do these checklists. And I always have the clients do the checking, right? I keep track too, but it's great to encourage them to do the checking because then I have them circle the ones they have to go back to if there's homework. So you want to do that. You want to schedule your next session. And then again, if there's some things to do, I always kept a note of the things that were kind of missing as we got into questions of what was missing on the side. And you can just send that. I think it's easier to send it to them. That way they have a more complete list as opposed to them trying to take notes while you're talking through this. I think it's pretty hard to do both in their state of mind. And so I always kept a list, and then I would just send an email with the things. And I would try to keep it simple. I mean, they may need to do 10 things. Give them 3. Let them accomplish 3. You can get to the rest, next time. So that's the wrap up with them. And again, you saw this. Don't ask them to complete any homework or discovery prior to session 1. So important that they're there with you, as Andrea said. So homework or the guidebook. Now there may be the homework after session 1, right? You might say, look at, particularly if like her score was 90 or above, I mean, maybe it's okay to kind of right? Encourage him or her to move ahead. And why don't you check out the credit report? Why don't you see if you can pull your own credit report? Does that sound like something you could do between now and our next session? Yeah, I think I could do that. Great. But if they're at a 37 and they struggled with you this entire first session, don't send them off to go do homework. Probably not going to happen. It could be intimidating, and they may cancel your appointment and you'll never see them again. Okay, nice and slow, easy go. I think that's what I had to share. Again, not trying to rewrite how you're doing business. We think there's some good stuff in here, and we're about consistent experiences for our clients and for you. And, the checklist may help you do that. That's what I've got, Andrea.